Hey!
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I am trying to find a good spot to hold this freaking phone.
Your hand?
No. Curse you, woman.
They said bye. He says toodles. So how have you been?
I am awake and not crying.
Dude, I
And
say
I
that at
haven't
work all the time.
I haven't cried now in for 3 days. So
Okay.
I feel like I'm
Hey.
over the hump.
Good.
Which is good. But I was telling them earlier, I was like, but because I'm bipolar, and I was like, but I'm literally mid manic mode right now. My house is super clean. I'm getting bored. I'm really just wanting to create some chaos for the plot right now.
Okay.
So I'm like, I need something to do. Otherwise, we'll see what happens. All bets are off right now.
Oh, no. So we've got you at like the prime time is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
God, I cannot get this thing in a good position. Look at me. Just
getting over another recent breakup. Awesome. But otherwise, the more I talk through it with my friends and the more that I talk through it with myself, I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? Seriously, what the fuck were you thinking?
bingo, bango.
But she told me I was pretty and gave me flowers. Yeah, she was a TERF and voted for Trump.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Right.
Love was
right.
blind.
I didn't know she was a TERF too. God, that's trash. Come on, man.
That's not you.
I know. I felt so stunted because we couldn't talk about politics and stuff.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
That's
brutal.
Fucking wild.
Yeah.
That's
So
brutal.
anyway, luckily I saw the signs early and we broke up. So I was like, or I broke up with her. So I was like, okay.
Cool.
But, lesbian drama.
You kept your average.
Yeah.
What's the average? What's that mean?
Oh, well, I'm the dumper.
She's always the dumper.
Okay.
Although I think we were mutual.
Yes,
though, so.
Yes, we were.
Are you gonna go by a stage name?
I guess I told wife, I was like, if you want, I'll go by wife number 2.
And I told her to shut the hell up about that.
Aww.
I don't know. I feel like I need a name. Can I be old fashioned man? Is that something that I can be?
Yeah.
But I'm a woman. Okay.
We can refer to you as the old fashioned man.
Not Princess
okay, that's
Sassy
cool.
Pants.
Oh, I could do that too.
What is it?
Oh, Princess Sassy Pants.
Princess Sassy Pants, also a possibility. And what about for you, Miss? What will your stage name be?
I don't know. I'm pretty simple. So I like continuity. So I'm like, when he's like Mr. M. So I'm like,
Mrs. M?
am I like Ms. J? Like,
Oh, I like
Ms.
Ms.
J. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not define her by who she's with.
I know.
I know. I didn't say shit.
It was me. I fucked up. I'm sorry. All right. So old fashioned man and Miss J, right? Is that
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'll do. You know what? I changed my
Do you
mind.
want J?
Mr. T.
Okay, Mr. T and Miss J or just J?
I'm just J.
Okay. Going with just J.
Okay.
Mr. M, Mr. T, and J. All right, we're good.
Yes.
I remember G-Rex. What is yours?
Dirty Skittles.
Dirty Skittles.
That's why I don't remember it.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. Today we have the infamous Mr. M back, and
Woo!
we also have Miss. Fuck me. All right,
Mr.
we're
T.
gonna start over.
Take
Right.
5.
Yep.
Go.
Okay, Mr. T and J. Okay, hold the fuck on. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. We have the infamous Mr. M back today. We have Mr. T back. No, not back. Fuck me. Fuck me.
Bro, just
It's okay.
Okay.
take a deep
Fuck
breath.
me. Okay. Okay. Mr. T and J. Okay, I'm good. All right. Ready? Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. Today we have the infamous Mr. M back, and we also have 2 additional guests, Mr. T and J.
Woo! Now I can woo.
Now you can woo!
How you feeling?
Woohoo!
Hey, Mr. M, can you give us an infamous chapter?
Oh,
one?
absolutely. Chapter 1.
Yes. First of all, I have to say, I can already tell our listeners are going to go crazy because your episode probably was the one I got the most like, what the fuck? Where's the rest of the story?
Really? Okay.
And I'm like, yo, relax. We're trying to plan it. We're getting there. So I think people are just going to be wildly losing their
Yeah,
shit.
The sequel and conclusion.
Yes.
Yeah, I got some really nasty texts. They're like,
Really?
what the fuck is this? What do you mean it's a cliffhanger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Okay, so we're all back. For those that remember the story, let's give a quick little recap. We talked to Mr. M about his evolution from where he had started in his previous relationship and how he evolved into the beautiful, happy, blended family he has now. And as we're recording this, I have to say, Mr. M, you have 2 guests that are joining you at your house, and you are all together in different rooms, but nonetheless looking gorgeous as ever. So let's introduce Mr. T. Do you want to tell people who you are in that story that we heard of Mr. M?
Absolutely. So I am female identifying, pronoun she, her. Mr. T. I am wife number 2 from story.
Yes. And Jay, tell the people who you are from Mr. M's story.
Hi. So yes, I am partner. I am current partner.
Yes. Mr. M,
Yes.
how you doing
I'm
today?
all right. I'm good.
Are you awake and not
Yeah, I
crying?
am. I am, in fact. Although the first person that said that today was Mr. T. So there you go. Right. I guess I've rubbed
Mr.
off on
T.
her as well.
I literally have been
Well, I'm
saying that a
also-
lot. I'm awake and not crying, and everyone laughs. So I appreciate that,
Right, it's a
Mr.
good
M.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. I use it at work now. And people are just like, huh? And I'm like,
I hope
I
this
know
takes
something
off.
you don't.
I hope this takes off. I don't take credit for it. I have heard it somewhere on the internet over the years, but I hope it takes off.
You made it.
we got a little bit of each of your stories from Mr. M, but I want to kind of open it up and give you guys an opportunity to tell your piece of the puzzle. So let's start with you, Mr. T. What are you comfortable sharing with the world about you and your evolution from where we heard you in Mr. M's story to where you are now?
Okay, so I'll try and keep it brief, but basically I grew up in a very Christian household. I was taken to conversion therapy at like 12, was in the closet until clearly, Mr. M talked about that in your last episode. I struggled with my sexuality my entire life. And, finally when I met Mr. M, I did absolutely he's the best person that I have ever out of cisgendered hetero male persuasion. He's probably the best person that I have ever met of that type. So he really gave me a safe space, and he has become my chosen family, as has Jay, as has their kids. So I am utterly grateful for him being in my life and continuing to be in my life. And yeah, that's pretty much my story. I'm sure, probably G-Rex may be able to help me out on this, but I'm basically a baby gay right now because I came out at 35. So I'm basically making all the mistakes a, 20-something-year-old lesbian would, which is really unfortunate because I will be 40 later this month. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing with myself? Like, why am I putting myself in these relationships that are bad for me? Oh yeah, because I'm like a 20-something-year-old lesbian who doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. So
you can talk
anyway.
to the 60-year-old lesbian, and I can tell you the mistakes not to make. Believe me, there's a ton.
Oh yeah, there absolutely is, I'm sure. And I'm, just about 3 weeks post breakup right now with the most recent person I was seeing. And yeah, I've come to realize more hey, what I'm willing to put up with, what I'm not willing to put up with. And honestly, a lot of who I base my partnerships on and how I want my partnerships to be was a lot of, who is who is a person who is caring, who is interested in what, I'm doing with my life, who encourages me. And he still does it as a friend, but that's something that I want in a partner too, and while I love and he enjoys his meat suit, it's not a meat suit that I like. So, I need to find
Wait. We got to interrupt you for a second. We need you to say everything you just said, but don't say say Mr.
Shit,
M.
Sorry. So basically,
Right,
Just
you're
who he
getting
is
into
here
it. I'm
again.
gonna be like, yo, that's awesome. But
I know.
yo, back up.
We need a hold up the
so
M or something.
so Mr. M, he is very much the embodiment of who I want as a partner, just as a woman. Let's face it. He is the full Mr. M is the full embodiment of who is an amazing human being, who cares about others, who puts others first, but also realizes that he needs a partner that, can also help out. And, we had in my opinion, we had a pretty decent marriage. I felt like it was very we were a good match for who we were. And I feel like we did help, Mr. M and I did help each other grow a lot, in our relationship, because we had just both come out of very toxic relationships when we started dating. So, I felt like we were a very safe landing space, I think, for each other, and helped each other learn and grow and find out who we really are as individuals. While our romantic relationship didn't last that, our familial relationship. And I actually just funnily talked to him yesterday about this, or the other day. I said, hey, by the way, do you mind if I list you as my emergency contact? I mean, Mr. M has always been an emergency contact, but would you mind being my primary emergency contact? And I'll just list you as my brother. And he's like, yeah. So
I actually thought I was already an emergency contact.
You are.
Well,
but
you just
were
changed
secondary.
Okay, I was secondary. And was that
You were
ex-spouse or something? And
it
now
was
I'm
ex-spouse, and now you're
Okay.
just brother. Now you're just
Fine.
brother.
See, there you go. That works.
I have a random question. G-Rex, how long did it take you to evolve from being a baby in this world to now a well-developed woman? That sounds dirty. A well-developed woman. You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
It's not dirty at all, but it took a while. I was probably in my late 20s when I kind of figured it all out. But I went for my current wife. We've been together for 28 years, and then I was with somebody for 5 years prior to that. It might have even been my 30s, right? It's hard. I'm a player. I like to, enjoy women.
Well-developed women.
I was looking for something that I couldn't find, right? I wanted somebody that was a little intellectual. I liked somebody that wanted to party, but that was my 30s, come here now, and I'm a totally different person. But in my 20s and 30s, even in my late teens, I was still trying to figure shit out. it's a hard path. And I'm going to say I think it's a little harder for women now because they don't have the number of bars that we had when I was growing up. Everything's done through dating apps and things like that. I don't think I am that equipped even now to kind of go through that. So I think that Mr. T has a little harder, right? Like you can't just go to a bar and be like, "Hey, girl," it's all done through apps and stuff. And so I can totally feel for you
Yeah, apps are scary.
because you
Yeah,
don't know you
I
don't
would
really
say.
know the person behind that app, right? Like, fuck, it could be a serial killer for all you know. I mean, I know that they do background checks and shit, but fuck, like I'd rather just go to a bar and be like, "Hey, you want to hook up?" and we be good. So
See, I think that's
Okay.
part of my problem is I also identify as like demisexual and coming into my like being more like gray ace. So I'm not I've never really been into like hookup culture necessarily or anything like that. I do want to be in like a long-term committed relationship with someone who, like you said, G-Rex, that you kind of want to party with, but you also want to have those deep intellectual conversations. And to be quite frank, women my age, it is slim freaking pickings. Like it is like, oh, you're okay. Like I'm starting to realize why women at this age in life are single. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got my shit too, but at the same time, it's like, it's a very hard dating pool as it is, especially at this age. So
yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine like if something happened to my wife, right? I don't think I could go back out into the dating world. Number one, I don't want to train anybody new, okay? Because it's just hard, right? Like I'm 60. Do I really want a 20-year-old? I don't think so. I mean, maybe for a few things, but man, that's a lot of training. Right? No, no.
I mean,
So, to go back to your story, Mr. T, you had mentioned that was it when you were 12 that you had to go to conversion
yeah,
camp?
conversion therapy.
Conversion
Yeah.
therapy.
So my mom caught me looking at, dirty magazines when I was a kid, and then I got the whole, what are you doing? Like type thing. And, took me to a Christian therapist a couple of times and told me the horrible pitfalls of being gay and how you'll never have a good life and how God thinks it's wrong because I grew up very Christian evangelical and I kind of felt safe in the identity of being at the time bi because well, then I can still marry a man. Like I dated women, throughout and when I wasn't in relationships with men. But it was honestly, there was also a lot of biphobia and there still is in the lesbian community and lesbophobia, but there's a lot of biphobia where lesbians just would not date bi women like at all. And so you kind of get pigeonholed in, well, it's harder to find bi women in the aesthetic that I prefer, which, I believe Mr. M explained that it's basically him, but as a butch lesbian, which is 100% the case. So,
Yep.
The heart one's
he
what it
can
wants, man.
confirm. He can confirm, but
We
yeah,
have
I did.
we had conversations of like, if only you were a woman. And I was like, well, I'm not, and I don't really want to be. I actually want. I meant to go down that rabbit hole a little bit in our last talk. Was that during the pandemic, a lot of people's eggs cracked. Right? They found out they were either gay or queer or trans. Right? Two people that they were assigned male at birth. I really related to them as being a very similar energy type people, and they both came out as trans. And I was a little floored by that. Not so much that they were trans, but like I looked up to them so much, and I said, "Well, what's the difference between myself and these two individuals who are now, identifying and out as women?" Is that I actually like photos of myself. I don't actively shy away from how I appear. But that was very true for them. And now they are constantly taking photos, constantly showing off their outfits. It's awesome to see. And so, like, but I had that moment as well. Like, well, do I identify, as a different gender? And so I kind of had to kind of go through these steps of figuring out, like, do I like how I look? Do I want to change anything about my body? And I came to the conclusion of, yeah, I like how I look, and no, I wouldn't change my body for, like, in that way. So there you go. So it was a pretty prescient question that Mr. T had for me. When we were going through the end of our romantic relationship, and it kind of let me open that door wider, later. So
Yeah. Yeah, I remember listening to the story in the first one that we recorded together, and it's always hard, right? Like, I mean, I obviously don't know what either of you have gone through, but I'm always trying to, like, kind of put myself in that position. And I just remember thinking to myself how you both created a safe space for one another. While it may not have been the same journey, you felt comfortable and safe enough to just explore who you are and to be yourself. So to get back to Mr. T, you're telling us, that beginning experience where you were in conversion therapy. And I'm curious, after the therapy, like, how were you able to kind of hide that part of yourself?
I basically just kind of, let my Barbie scissor made as many lesbian Sims as I could, and just kind of dealt with it, and just said, well, clearly this is not meant to be. I love my family. I don't want to lose them. I will identify as bisexual. That's how I will appear. But I will, when it came to, like, serious relationships, and I hate to say this because I love you, Mr. M, but men are generally fairly easy creatures. Let's be honest with one another. They're fairly
not going to refute that. Not going to refute that.
So it can be easier, but Mr. M was always just, yeah, like, you identify as bi or pansexual, great. And he wasn't weird about it. He wasn't like you would expect most cis het white men to be like, ooh, tell me about your ex-girlfriends, tell me about the women that you dated. Would you be interested in doing a threesome? And no, it was never like that. It was just, that is your identity. That's who you are, and I fell in love with Mr. M. I absolutely did, because because he's such an amazing person. So has our love evolved over the years? 100%, absolutely. He is my brother now.
Right.
Aww.
So I
go
just
ahead.
have a question, Mr. M. So, like, with all the stuff that you've been going through, and with Mr. M, and just yourself, like, what do you do for self-care and self-love? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting therapy? Like, what are you doing that keeps you grounded?
Was that for me? I'm sorry.
Oh, Mr. T, sorry. My
Oh
bad.
yeah, that's okay. You said Mr. M, and I was like, okay. So, being mentally healthy in this economy, can't afford it right now. So I have done therapy here and there, trying to delve into my mommy issues, as it were. When I did eventually come out, she was still very much practicing evangelical Christian, constantly saying, I love you. I don't like this choice that you're making. But at the same time, this isn't a choice, first of all, clearly, but would you rather have a dead daughter, or would you rather have a gay daughter? Like, tell me which one you'd prefer. So I basically cut her off from my life, as well as a lot of my family that did not accept my coming out, when I was about 5 years ago now. And so, yeah, but she has subsequently passed away from COVID. Surprise, surprise. So, and I use that as a trauma mechanism. But yes, I do. I am on medication. I have done therapy. Just I'm at a place right now where, living is expensive, and I just can't afford it right now. So,
Well, could you please share with everyone what you tell me about what you're up to lately, as far as what phase of your life you're in? Because it's amazing and I love it.
what the one where I told this afternoon?
No, no, no. If you don't mind, your angsty teenage poetry period.
Oh, so yeah. This is actually the first time that I've done this, but this most recent breakup that I had was very, very traumatic to me, and I've been writing like really shitty poetry, and I have shared a poem with, and he actually thankfully shared one with me as well, or with Mr. T. I'm sorry, I shared a poem with Mr. T or Miss. Fuck.
Okay, pause. Take a breath. Take a breath. Reset.
Okay. So yes, I am in my shitty poetry era, and I shared a poem that I wrote with Mr. M, and he shared one that he wrote, while we were in the thick of it, I believe, and we both were like,
Yes, it was.
yeah, like, we were, experiencing a lot of pain in that moment. And I'm glad that we can come back to that and say, Mr. M can say, here, this is what I was feeling when this happened to us, and while I can't necessarily, I can apologize for what he went through at the time of me discovering myself. I'm not unhappy with the way things turned out. Just like I'm sure Mr. M is extremely ecstatic about the way things turned out in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, right. I wouldn't go back and change a thing, right? Like, I would not go back and go, well, what if we did it this way? Like, there's none of that, right? Our lives ended up where they are, and I'm sorry, Mr. T, that you've gone through a lot of like hard breakups and things like that. I'm glad that you're still around. You're still in my life, and you're still a pain in the ass.
Wow.
Answering my phone calls at 1 a.m.
Yeah, 1 a.m. pacing a parking lot. Right.
It's okay.
Right. I will do that.
Okay.
Right.
Like,
right.
Then I hover in the background, and I'm like, tell her this. Tell her this.
I knew that Jay would be awake at the time, because Jay and Mr. M are very much night owls. So, I was like, I know they'll be awake. They are going to be my emotional support right now. And hopefully I'm not for them too, but they definitely, I consider, both Mr. M and Jay, some of, my closest friends, if not my closest friends, along with another friend that we have together. So, yeah.
I love that.
I
love that. So Jay, that's like the perfect segue into who you are.
It's like hard to encapsulate, but I really empathize with a lot of what has been said about, like, oh, I'm coming into my own, except I'm kind of feel like I'm going backwards. Like, I feel like I was fully realized at like 18, 19, 20. And then I okay, we have to accept I permitted myself to get away from that. And now I am back to like who that person is. And now I have all of this, extra bonus family. I have 2 kids. And I have Mr. M, and I have Mr. T, and I have like a bunch of other people. So I kind of feel like, and to me, that is like the full realization of my dream at like 19, of like living on a hippie commune with all of my friends nearby, and just like sharing resources and sharing ideas. And like my kids adore Mr. T, especially like all the colored hair. That's always like a big treat. And so I feel like I am coming back to who I was, and that person was like fiercely, and is fiercely independent, like fiercely like of my own mind, making my own decisions and creative, and didn't want to do anything the way that things were said they should be done. I'm a mom, and also I don't want anything to do with the like the way life is supposed to be.
Yeah. Have you guys ever, I'm sitting here listening to all of your stories and I'm like, yo, how lucky to have found each other, right? Like you all work so well together, and I just like I'm a little jealous, to be quite honest. Like I'm like Bizzle, Bud. No, just kidding. Just kidding. That's my best friend. But like seriously, right? Like you all are helping each other and getting something from each other as well. So it's such a beautiful like dynamic to see, for sure.
Well, I talking about apps, like I was in a 17-year relationship, and so when that ended, the world of dating had changed, right? Like my kid's dad and I met in high school in like 10th grade. And so when like I came out of that, the world was very different. I had never used an app like for dating. And I was kind of overwhelmed, and and it was like pretty nervous making, so to speak. So I totally get when they're like, oh, apps are terrible, right? I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And the fact is that Mr. M and I met through an app.
How long after your relationship, what was the time span from then to Mr. M?
I would say there was like from the like official of separating households to meeting Mr. M was like 5 months, 4 months, 5 months. But we have been in a process for basically like 2.5 years leading up to that, of like really deciding where our future was going to go and what we were, were we going to stay together? So I would say it had been, altogether it was like almost three years or so since like the end of the relationship to when I was like, yes, I'm going to try this app thing and see what happens.
Yeah. How I guess, how did Mr. M introduce you to his life? Why are you giggling, Mr. M? Why is everybody giggling?
Okay.
What have I touched on?
Okay. I think one of the first things I said to Jay was, so I am married. We're trying this open relationship thing, but we're not romantic because she's a lesbian. I'm about to have like 5 cats and a dog in my house. Like,
and Jay, you were like, perfect. Sign me up.
Like, yes, and also like and not only like we're open relationship, but I'm polyamorous. I'm going to polyamory meetings, and here I am, out of a 17-year long straight relation, let's say straight facing relationship, with no experience in the dating world. And yeah, my answer was okay.
Right.
Which I think, many people are like, what? But here's my take. Like what I heard in all of those, there's lots of words in there that could be real intimidating, but here's what I heard. I care enough about people to put aside my own feelings about what could be a scary situation, which could be a sad situation. I care enough about people to try to hear them through a difficult time. And who would not want that? Like, who would not think that that was like an awesomely attractive quality? Like, that was like, yeah, I want that. But also because like for me, like my whole life was hearing a lot of, well, you should do this, you should be like this, why can't you just do, you know, this thing, why can't you be more affectionate, why can't you say I love you more, why can't you just be organized, why can't you just be on time, you should do all of these things, why it was and and that was, you know, early teens, all through my early adulthood. And I did not want any of that. And so to have a person that could say, whatever you got, okay. I I was like, yeah, I was really on board for that at that time.
Wow. That's cool. I like that that's what you heard through all of that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm curious because it sounds like it works so well together. Was there ever any growing pains just figuring out what the dynamic would be?
So yes, I can speak to that uniquely because I would get a bunch of like I would still have like feelings of anxiety or guilt around Mr. T and like what her emotional needs were, especially at the very beginning of my relationship with Jay. So there were a lot. I was feeling a lot of anxiety, a lot of guilt about not being around, or or spending time with Jay, and rather than with Mr. T and whatever she had going on at that minute, which was a lot always. Um, and then, but there was also the pull of like like why from both sides. Why does this other person get to pull so much of your attention? Right, or so much of your focus, and so like that was hard to get through a little bit of that. Luckily Mr. T had a partner at that time, so that kind of softened that a little bit, and I didn't always feel like super guilty about it, but like I still did. um, but eventually everyone got to know each other, and we got more comfortable with that dynamic, and it just kind of mellowed out. As soon as it was, I don't think it was ever any like romantic jealousy from Jay. I don't believe that in the slightest.
Oh no,
No,
no.
but it was definitely like an attention. Again, I don't want to call it jealousy, but like needing more of me to be present in that moment rather than worrying about what was ever going on with Mr. T. Um, and then because we would there were times where Jay would have her kids and I wouldn't see them. I didn't meet the kids for 9 months. So we'd have a week on where it was myself and Jay, and then there'd be a week off where it was Jay and her kids, and then I would go do whatever. And that was usually like the time where I would then be able to focus on other things, other relationships. So like that really helped that kind of work itself out, like getting like kind of used to that rhythm as well. It's like, oh, it's a kid week, so Matt's gonna be around and deal and do this thing. It's a not kid week, so Matt's gonna be absent.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Mr. M is gonna be absent. So that really did help kind of smooth things out in the long run.
and that's just that, like I came into it with my own uh structure, let's say. I'm a very structured person, and when we started seeing each other, and anybody that I was talking to on the apps, I knew that, and that was I knew exactly like what I'm willing to share my time, but these are the days that I'm willing to share. The rest of the time I will be off limits. So if that is, and not like I'm not even, if I'm with my kids, I'm focused on my kids. Like I will not answer texts randomly. Most likely I will be out of contact. And so you have to be okay with that. Um, and I was pretty upfront, just like Mr. M was upfront about what his situation was. I was upfront about what I had to give and what I didn't have to give. I wasn't necessarily looking for a long-term relationship, but I had done many years of therapy, and I was ready to uh I had come to conclusions about who I was on my own and the stuff that made me work, but you have to take the next step and start learning about how you interact with other people, right? And like what happens when you start interacting with people, because we don't exist in vacuums. And so I was very clear, like, this is what I have. You can text me at all hours, but I won't be responding. If that's a problem for you, then we're not going to work. And so that was definitely, I think, made some anxiety for Mr. M, because he was used to different types of relationships. Yes, that were very emotionally, immediately responsive, and I tried to be clear, like, that doesn't mean that I don't want to see you, and that doesn't mean that I'm not interested, but this is my reality, and so if you like our time together, then, and I'm willing to talk about it, like, what's going on for you when you have feelings. But if that gives you anxiety, then maybe take a look at why that is giving you anxiety. And so that is who
right. That's an immediate juxtaposition to Mr. T's style of communication, right? Like, literally,
tell us, Mr. T.
She will text me, like, back when we were
back
still
then
a couple, a couple. She would text me and then, like, think immediately, oh my God, he's dead. He hasn't responded in 30 seconds.
Let's face it wasn't 30 seconds, Mr. M, but
okay, fine.
I know
probably
that
2 to 5 minutes.
Okay, I know that I am anxiously attached. It's something that I have been trying to work on myself, and I have been actually getting better at it. Thank you very much.
No, right, exactly. No, you've done a lot of
I've done a lot of work on that. So, like, I really have. Like, if it's getting to, and I am generally only like that with my partners, but if it's getting to, like, hey, it's been 4 hours, like, like, WTF, my dude.
Well, also add on to the top of the fact that I'm type 1 diabetic who is prone to not doing exactly what he needs to do to correct blood sugars one way or the other. And I could be either comatose from low blood sugar or be like in some sort of sugar toxic shock from high blood sugar. So it's right. One or the other. Right? I could have been dead. It's true.
Yeah, a health crisis wasn't too far off.
I feel like Dirty Skittles, maybe like 10 years ago or so, saw you have an episode at work. Perhaps I don't know if you remember that, Dirty Skittles, but like. Yeah. Where a friend of ours, I think, ended up calling me, and I was at work at the time. Yeah, they're like, something's wrong with something's wrong with Mr. T.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Right.
It's true.
Yep. The old silver fox.
Silver fox.
Oh, silver fox.
He'd be so mad. He'd be so mad.
Yeah. The name fits. So as a listener, I think it's very interesting that the three of you were going through almost self-discovery at the same time, just in different ways. So going back to Mr. T, you're in this healthy relationship with Mr. M, but you are still at your core somebody different. So can you talk to us about maybe what it took to give you that courage to say, okay, I can't deny who I am anymore?
So I think I can harken back, and I think Mr. M did say this, but I was definitely the side chick to someone else who, looking back again, baby lesbian, terrible decisions were made,
But then I started talking to,
I was learning to crawl before you learn to walk. I started talking to someone new, and we hadn't met. We'd talked for a couple of weeks, and, something happened where they're like, oh, okay, well, I don't really see this going anywhere. And I was absolutely devastated. Like, I was devastated over someone that I had never met, over someone that I felt like I had, I was really into. I felt like we had created this emotional connection, because lesbians after 2 weeks. And
that's the complete sentence.
After the second date.
Actually, No, it's not the second date. That's when the U-Haul is usually.
That's true. That's what the U-Haul coupon expires after the second date, right?
So we didn't even go on a date. Like, we didn't even go on a date. And I had like a really big self-reflective moment. And I was saying to myself, like, why am I so incredibly devastated over this person that I have never even met, but felt such a strong connection to on so many different levels? It wasn't physical. It was just emotional. Like, so to me, you know, that's where I was like, wow, I love my husband, but I believe he touched on this, or Mr. M touched on this briefly. Our relationship was never super intimacy focused, as it were, you know, which granted, I am not a super intimately focused person right now, but I actually feel much more enjoyment in the intimacy that I have now, you know, with people that I'm dating or with partners. So I don't know where I was going with that, but you know, that's why I eventually came out to Mr. M.
Yeah, that was the moment you were like, we need to talk.
We need 3 days before your birthday. We need to talk.
It was 4 days. Give yourself some
4
credit.
days. But to my credit, the Chewies that I got for your birthday that year was amazing.
It was very good.
Was amazing. I don't know if you were there, Dirty Skittles. I think you might have been there, Dirty Skittles.
Was this during single Dirty Skittles days? Because I remember.
No, it was not. No. I think you and Bizzle were in Georgia the first time, or were like in that process. It may have just been Bizzle. I don't believe Dirty Skittles ever went to our house in Winter Park. So.
I don't remember what house I went to that y'all lived in. It was like a townhome.
Yeah, so it wasn't that one.
Helps. Okay.
Nope. Yeah, I mean it does.
Oh yeah, I never got to see the other house. You're right.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry to end on a cliffhanger. Don't worry though, we'll be back next week with part 2. It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.